Hi, everyone. I'm going to give like 1 minute for people to join. Feel free to say hi in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on things. Milwaukee, a fellow Midwesterner. Hello, Nicole. All right, I'm going to dive right in. Hopefully, we have some more people joining, but if not, we'll keep it cozy. It's nice to meet everyone. My name is Jess, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about conscious leadership. So, a little bit about me. Oh my gosh, so many people. Hello, everyone. I'm Jess. I'm a senior manager of strategic design within Bain and Company's innovation and design team. Before Bain, I had about 11 years of experience at a variety of different startups and some larger companies, smaller companies, mostly in the Bay Area, but really kind of explored design before I came into the consulting life. My expertise was really in, I love strategic design and user research, as well as our favorite, the human-centered design. And then I have a knack for client whispering, as in helping clients get to the point that we need them to get to. I also want to introduce you to one more person. This is my son. His name is Jelko. It's a Slovenian name. He goes by Z a lot of times. He's the junior manager of strategic climbing around here at Huang and Company. And he has about 2 years of experience, 2 years and a couple months. His expertise is really in strategic climbing and researching food, human-centered sleeping, and then parent whispering, especially with his dad. Thanks for the hearts. When Z was first born, he slept a lot. He was super, super cute. Thankfully, though, he was a good sleeper. So I had a lot of time to learn about things, especially parenting. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I learned about parenting. So one of the things that I learned about was this new, quote unquote, new style of parenting called conscious parenting. There's also mindful parenting, gentle parenting, respectful parenting, even lazy parenting or sloth parenting, which I kind of have an affinity for. But these parenting philosophies really centered around four key ideas. Children are individuals, children deserve respect, children deserve autonomy, and children deserve empathy. And all of these kind of go around the idea that you create a relationship with your child rather than kind of dictating what they do all of the time. Of course, you set boundaries and you kind of figure out ways that you can guide them along the right path through modeling things ourselves and also through kind of setting boundaries and kind of discipline where needed, not punishment, but discipline. And it's really kind of starting to come up as all of us elder millennials start to have families. We hear and see a lot more about these kind of attentive, responsive, and positive kind of parenting ideas. And I kind of know what you're thinking. Wait a minute. I thought we were here to talk about leadership, like at work, like with adults, like with people that can say full sentences. And just, I'm getting there. Okay. Just chill for a second. I'm getting there. When it comes to leadership, obviously we know that our colleagues are individuals. We know that they deserve respect and autonomy and they deserve empathy. These are all a given. Like we always treat the other people in our lives, the other adults in our lives with respect. So what else did I learn? Like, what else am I talking about? There's more actually that we can take from these parenting philosophies. As I was on my maternity leave, I was just reading as much as possible, trying to kind of understand a little bit more while my son was still essentially like a small potato until he became a little bit more sentient. I wanted to make sure that I could learn as much as possible so that I could prepare. Go figure, as a designer, I like to research before I get started on things. As I read these various blogs and books and all sorts of articles and websites, there were some mottos that really stood out to me. I realized that these were bigger than just parenting. These were some philosophies that you could really use anytime that there's a relationship with someone that's a little bit more senior and a little bit more junior. Obviously, I have a few more years of experience than my son, but like I also have a few more years of experience than a lot of my advisees that I work with on a day-to-day basis. So these are bigger than just parenting. So when I went back to work, this photo is my after my first day. It was my son was 16 weeks old, so you can see still a little nugget. It was voting day, so it was like a really big day. And when I went back to work, I decided I'm going to put some of these into practice. I'm going to try these out and see what I can really find. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the ones that really stuck with me. I know he's really cute. All of the hearts are for him and for voting, I'm sure. So these are my tenets of conscious leadership. First, leadership is a relationship, not a transaction. Second, it's not about you, but it starts with you. Third, lead the person in front of you. Number 4, be who they need and not who you think you should be. 5 is one of my favorites, slow down. Number 6 is all behavior is communication. This is a big one in parenting circles. We always talk about all behavior is communication. And 7, you're going to have conflict. Repair after that conflict. So let's get into a little bit of these. First off, leadership is a relationship, not a transaction. A little show of thumbs up on the emojis. Have you heard this phrase? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. All right, we got some thumbs. So we've all heard this, and we kind of think about it. And in my mind, I get very visual in my head. I'm like, I just imagine this like stubborn donkey, and you're trying to pull him to the water, and you're like, drink, you're thirsty, like, come on. But it really starts to come together in my mind when I think about leadership as a relationship rather than a transaction. It's not something that I'm doing to someone. It's not something that we do to someone. It's something that is based on this kind of relationship. We're only a leader. We can call ourselves a leader all we want, but we're only really a leader if someone is willing to kind of follow us and be advised by us and work with us. So in my mind, and from what I was reading about these parenting techniques, good leadership requires building trust, opening communication, and frankly, figuring out ways to get along with each other. It really requires all of the things that you would require from a relationship. It's not about expecting things of other people. It's not about setting impossible criteria for people. Or doing anything in exchange for your leadership. You shouldn't expect anything from anybody. It's about accepting, not expecting. Accepting the person as they are and meeting them where they are. So what this looks like with kids is I have a 2-year-old. He is what they call pre-verbal. He's not using a lot of words yet. So when I'm going to him, I can't just have a conversation with him. I kind of have to think about it a little bit and say like, well, who is this right now? And what does he have the capabilities of? And how do we kind of discuss things as we need to? And we work things out. With leadership, it's the same way. If I have someone that is coming in and they're fresh out of school and they're very ambitious and they're ready to kind of like take the world by storm, that might be a little bit different. They might need some different things from me than from someone that's a little bit more senior. And the first thing that I always do when I'm bringing on a new advisee or a new mentor, or a new mentee, as many people have seen, I sit down with them and I get to know them. I want to build that trust. I want to open the communication and I want to start building rapport with them. Next, it's not about you, but it starts with you. Just as we aren't leaders if there's no one following or no one that we're advising, leadership is not about us. I really strive to take my ego out of the equation when I'm showing up as a leader. It's not about us. It's about the people that we're leading. So when we build that relationship, we really start to kind of unlock what it is. It's all about how do I help this person get where they need to go, wherever that is. However, great leadership starts with us. And this is kind of one of the biggest tenets of conscious parenting is really understanding who you are, understanding your own flaws, your own limits, and your own insecurities. And then realizing within that the ways that you can show up and that you can actually be a good parent, or in this case, a good leader. It brings a lot of humility. It brings a lot of empathy to the situation. And it really helps to make things a little bit more effective because you're taking that ego out. You're not dictating. You're not kind of beating anybody into submission. You're really working with somebody and understanding that you are not like the perfect person. There's no perfect person. Speaking of that, leading the person in front of you. In the parenting circles, they call it this: parent the child in front of you. often have an idea about who a person should be or who a child should be. But everyone is an individual. So let's treat them that way. And right now I have 4 different advisees and countless mentees within ADPList. And what works for one person isn't going to work for someone else because of who they are. Wow, that's a lot of wows that just came up for that. Because of who they are, because of what life they live, because of where they live. One of my advisees is in Sao Paulo. I'll make her go say hi to Fred, who's our host on this project. We'll hang out in Brazil, and she has different needs from someone that's in Los Angeles or someone that's in San Francisco or Boston. Alongside that, everyone is a whole person. We all have lives outside of our work, even if it's, I leave my day job and I go to my side hustle. I leave my day job and I go to my toddler. I leave my day job and I go hiking in the woods. Hopefully, we're encouraging our advisees to have these vibrant and enriching lives, whatever that means to them. We also have many intersectional identities that make up who we are. So I'm a mom. I'm also a designer, of course. I'm a leader. I'm LGBTQIA+. I live in San Francisco. I come from the Midwest. There's all of these parts of my identity that make up who I am and how I show up. And all of our advisees have those individual identities as well. So treating someone as the whole person, understanding when they show up and they seem a little bit off, maybe something's going on in that whole life outside of their day-to-day work. Similarly, everyone is in a different and I want to emphasize, very specific moment in their lives and their careers. So one of the things that we talk about with conscious parenting is parent the child that's in front of you, not who they were 6 months ago and not who you want them to be when they're 18. Who is this child right now? And I think that there's a lot that can be applied also to leadership. Who is this person in front of me? Are they a junior designer? Are they a manager? Are they a man, a woman? Like, where are they in their careers? How are they feeling in their careers? And how do we help them move to where they want to be? I think one of my favorite things is really trying to figure out who the individual is, and really embrace that beauty and that kind of life that they are. Everyone is so vibrant and multifaceted. So really respecting and embracing helps us to use that respect to solve problems for them, not for your other advisee, not for your other mentees, but that particular person. On a similar note, we really should strive to be who they need, not who you think they should be. I remember when there were a bunch of books coming out from Steve Jobs and oh my gosh, Sheryl Sandberg and everybody talking about leadership and how great leaders are and what they do and what do they eat for breakfast. But great leaders don't have a single way. There's no one size fits all for leadership, and nor should there be. Like everyone should really feel empowered by their leaders, and feel known and seen by their leaders. So even though all of these people are lauded as these great leaders for various reasons, and maybe they are, it can be tempting to try to emulate them or replicate them or say like, I'm going to be like Steve Jobs. But it's kind of cheating a little bit. It's not being authentic to ourselves, and it's not being what our advisees need. So don't try to take the fast track. Don't do that. It's really about embracing who you are and who that other person is, and establishing, like I said, that relationship. Beyond that, one of the things that was really hard for me when I first started managing and advising was I don't have all the answers. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years, like you saw, and I still don't have all of the answers. I'm still learning stuff every day. But one of the things that a mentor told me was, you don't need to know everything. Sometimes the best mentors are actually the best connectors. Sometimes what my advisees and my mentees need is for me to connect them with someone else who can actually answer their questions, someone else that can kind of help them. And consciously being aware of yourself and knowing when you're not the right person unlocks a broader world of opportunities for them to move forward. Of course, you've got their back and you're kind of alongside for the ride, but you don't have to know every single thing that they need to know. Next, like I said, one of my favorites is to slow down. I'm going to pause for a second too. we'll just slow down because I talk a lot. I talk really fast. But when we slow down, um, we really start to notice things a little bit more. We start to be able to listen and understand a little bit more clearly. We start to become more attuned to what's going on. We become more attuned to ourselves. For example, I noticed that I was kind of holding my breath a little bit while I was speaking and speaking really fast and not breathing as much as I should. So slowing down helps me kind of say, like, okay, here I am, I'm connected. I can attack this next slide because it says to slow down. When something's going wrong for one of our advisees, really one of the worst things that we can do as a leader is really panic. Um, so rather than jumping immediately into, I got to fix this, I got to make this right, or I got to go talk to that person, really slowing down can not only help us kind of recenter our focus and think about the next steps, but also help to regulate their reactions as well. If we're showing up with urgency and purpose, but steadfast kind of resolve and not panicking, then it's almost like it's contagious a little bit. Like when they see that we are confident, they will feel a little bit more confident themselves. Um, I actually am reminded of a time when I had an advisee who came to me in tears and she said, this case is just really hard right now. Like there's a lot that's going on and I'm just really, really overwhelmed. And I panicked. And I said, okay, I'm gonna contact X, Y, and Z people. I'm gonna talk to the leader of our design team. We're gonna get this fixed. And really what I realized after I pulled in our advisor, our manager, I pulled in the manager, I like was ready to go talk to the people that she was having a hard time with. What I realized when talking to her is she actually just needed to vent. She needed to kind of talk through it. Um, it's really about like, what do they need at that moment? And if we're so busy and worried about like, how do I fix this? Then we can miss like what they actually need. And we can kind of create this escalation kind of snowball effect where all of a sudden everybody's freaking out and everybody's head's on fire. Luckily, my manager at the time, our head of design, was able to step in and say, let's calm down, let's see what's actually going on, and then kind of go further. And that was a real unlock for me. And then reading about parenting, it's like, let's slow down. The next one, and I love this one, especially in parenting, but it applies everywhere. It applies with everyone, not just in leadership, not just in parenting, but think about your family, think about your friends. All behavior is communication. So right now, I don't know if you can hear it. I can hear it a little bit. My son's really upset. He's crying. He's kind of having a little bit of a tantrum. And I look at the time, it's nap time. All behavior is communication. He's trying to tell my husband, who's taking care of him, he's trying to tell him, I'm tired. I don't feel good. I want to go to sleep, but I can't quite figure it out. And I also know that, like, because he's upset right now with my husband, that's a good thing. If we're seeing negative emotion, a lot of times we're like, oh crap, like, what have I done? Like, this doesn't feel good. But usually what that means is that our advisees, or in this case, my toddler, is comfortable with us. This is the reason why a lot of parents will say, my kid's teacher says that like, my kid is really, really good at school. And then he comes home and he's an absolute terror. Well, he feels safe with you. He feels like he can express himself. You are his safe place. So I've had a couple of instances where I had an advisee get really upset with me and really frustrated with me and tell me how frustrated they were with me. And a little bit later, they apologized. And I said, like, hey, like, it's okay. I know that I can handle your emotions. I can take on your emotions. Like I said, I can slow down. I can say, like, well, what's really going on here? And then I can really kind of say, like, I know that this is not directed at me. This is really directed at the situation. And I'm okay. I can handle these big feelings. And so, like, he and I have a really good relationship now, this advisee of mine, because I know he can come to me and he can vent to me and he doesn't have to put on a filter. Of course, there's a little bit of a work filter, of course, but he doesn't have to kind of stifle himself. The other thing is, whenever I see an advisee that's having a hard time or kind of uncharacteristically upset or frustrated or something, I always try to figure out, like, well, what's going on outside of the situation? Are they feeling supported in their project, in their work? Are they feeling stable? Are they worried about, like, are they worried about layoffs? Are they worried about changes within the team? What are they worried about here? Excuse me. And then I'm also saying, like, do they have enough autonomy? Do they have enough control? Do they have enough guidance? Like, what is actually going on that is not meeting their needs? And within work, of course, but also within their personal life. I don't want to dig into their personal life, but I say, like, hey, is everything okay? Like, I want you to come to me as a whole person, and I want to know, like, is there anything I can do to support you? And once we kind of establish that, like, I've had some of them that are like, X, Y, and Z is happening at home. It's just like taking a lot out of my concentration. And I can really say, like, okay, let's, let's figure out ways that we can lighten things at work and kind of load balance a little bit and feel a little bit better. So all behavior is really communication. And it's up to us as leaders to kind of translate, what is this communication trying to tell me? And then the last kind of tenet that I always kind of think about is repair. So there's going to be conflict. Like I said, I just described a situation where one of my advisees was pretty ticked off with me. You're going to have conflict. And sometimes we make mistakes. We all will make mistakes, especially during conflict. We'll lose our cool. We'll say something harsh. Like, we'll behave in a way that we aren't proud of. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to not repair. It's what you do after the mistake that matters even more than the mistake itself. And that's where repair comes in. Repair is about rebuilding that relationship with the person, not necessarily like, insisting on forgiveness, but really saying, like, I know that something went wrong. And I'm willing to take the time and the energy and the effort to repair and come back with you. And this is something I recommend in leadership and mentorship. It's something I recommend with coworkers. It's something I recommend with children. It's something I recommend with partners and friends. Anytime there's conflict, if you really care about that person, it's about repairing that relationship. So a couple tips that I try to live by. I'm not perfect at it either. But when you're ready, when you actually feel like it's not just I'm forcing an apology or something, it's like, okay, I've calmed down and I've seen like what's going on and I understand like what's going on. Apologize sincerely. Understand that you can't insist on forgiveness right away either. They may be mad at you for a lot longer than you expected, and that's okay. It may take time to reach that same level of trust and affinity again, depending on how deep the kind of gash was. It takes a little time for the scar tissue to build up and you to feel a little bit more comfortable again. So really, like, focusing on what you do after the mistakes is what really, really matters. So those are the seven tenets. And it's one thing for me to kind of say, like, all right, here's the seven tenets, you should go out and do them. But it's also something to say, well, how did this work out for me? I mentioned I came back from maternity leave. I said, all right, I'm going to try these out and let's see how it goes. And let's see how it went. So my maternity leave ended. I was a lead designer at the time. I came back in November of 2020. In April 2021, I was promoted to manager. I really quickly gained two PD advisees who are still two of my favorite people. And then gained another one in July. I've started PD advisees are professional development advisees within Bain speak. It's essentially direct reports, but not really. It's weird consulting speak. But basically, I started to bring on these people, and the first three were pretty junior designers. They're they're really, really intelligent. They're really, really bright. They're much earlier in their careers, and I really started advising in them. In January 2022, the original two actually ended up moving away, not for bad reasons. They're still within Bain, but one of them wanted to try out a different country. So he's now in London. And another one wanted to actually try out more of the general management consulting side of things. And so I helped support them through those transitions so that they could go and see, like, what's it like in these other places. So I call them all grown up because they were my cool kids. I instantly got a lot less cool once they were no longer my advisees. And then in April of this year, I was promoted again to senior manager. And I gained two more advisees, and these were both managers. So I kind of up leveled from more junior designers early career to the next stage, advanced mode, and brought on 2 managers who I also really love dearly. And I learned so much from them as they are learning from me. And it's been really great. And then in July of 2022, I had another advisee come on. So through all of this, I got this performance review from my manager, and I literally pulled it verbatim about how I helped to kind of bring the design team forward and show a different type of leadership style, a really empathetic and like I said, conscious leadership style. Alongside that, I also joined ADPList. This is the celebrate moment. I joined ADPList in June of 2021. So in a little over a year, I've met 70 individuals, amazing individuals from all over the world in 97 sessions. And there's a couple people that I made up a big bulk of those 97 sessions, but I love them. I've got 22 reviews, and I'm so close to having 3,000 minutes mentored. If we tracked all of the actual minutes, it would be over 3,000, but I'm so close to having 3,000 minutes. And it's really helped to kind of hone my leadership, hone my skills here, and really kind of understand people from all walks of life, all levels, people that are switching careers, people that are trying things out. And really, I feel like I've been really proving a lot of my conscious leadership kind of ideals. And most importantly, my son still likes me. So it's working there as well. My son's still very happy. Of course, as he's getting bigger, once he hits probably like 9 or 10, he may not like me as much anymore, but I know that he'll always feel like I'm his safe space. He'll always be able to show me that emotion, and I know that I can handle it because I've consciously made the effort to understand myself and my own limitations and really build that relationship with him. With that, I want to welcome Fred, our host, back for a little Q&A. Fred's going to kind of moderate the Q&A for me a little bit. I'll stop sharing here, Fred, so you can join us.
Great, I hope you can see me.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, this has been such an amazing time. I'm learning a lot. So let's start. It's not actually a question, it's more of a comment from Melissa. She said, as a mom, I'm really enjoying this. Plus the whole topic is very authentic and I think people respond to authenticity. And I honestly, I agree a lot. So let's start with the first question. Were you ever discriminated against as a parent in tech?
I would say, so one of the great things about Bain is they are really focused on inclusivity and really supporting people. That being said, there have been times where people just kind of don't really register the idea that like, hey, I have to sign off. My son will always come first. I always tell people it's my son, myself, my husband, and then work. And myself in there because you can't pour from an empty cup, as they say. Or on airplanes, they always say, put your mask on before assisting others. So I really focus on taking care of myself. But there have been times where it's like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you responding? And it's sometimes a little bit. It's gotten a lot better in COVID. I've only had my son during COVID, but it's gotten a lot better. But I also try to show up myself as a leader and say, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm a senior manager. I'm going to be offline from 6 p.m. to 9:30 for dinner and bath time and bedtime. And then I start to see that like some of the more junior people on the team, the more inexperienced people on the team start to establish those boundaries as well. So I know that I've been super, super fortunate that I haven't really been discriminated against actively, but there's still a lot of walls to break down.
Great. As I said in the chat, setting boundaries is so important, right? So next question. As a working manager in the trenches solving UX problems and doing productions, how do you allocate your time between pixel pushing / problem solving and team building?
Yeah, this is I hope that my head of design is watching this too, because she's always coaching me on this. A little bit of it is really, like I said, setting those boundaries, saying like, this is the time when I'm going to be focused on X, Y, and Z. I mentioned like my son comes first outside of work. Within work, we kind of have a client first mentality within Bain. So whatever the client really needs, like that has to come first because that's how we get paid. But then within that, it's kind of like, the day-to-day work, I'm always kind of actively and consciously balancing between the day-to-day work on my case, and then the work that I'm doing with my advisees, and then the work that I'm doing with my broader team. So it's boundaries, and it's really, really conscious kind of fighting. And it does become kind of exhausting, but that's kind of the only way that I've been able to do it. Sometimes I'll block out my calendar. I'll push all of my advisees to Thursday, and I'll say, I'm not having any other meetings other than with my advisees. Some of my mentees on ADPList know sometimes I have to kind of reschedule things more last minute than I want to. But it's really about like, how do I really like set boundaries for myself?
Yeah, that's extremely important. Another question that I'm really interested to know the answer is, do you share and educate on this topic internally to your own company as well?
I'm working on it. I've actually been telling my manager for a while, and a couple of friends outside of work, that like, I think I need to give this talk. I think I need to do this. And so, any of them are probably laughing. They're like, she finally did it. And so I think it's going to be one of those things. We have a moms at Bain group, we have a dads at Bain group too, women at Bain group, and I think it's really important to kind of share within that. But I think we have we have different setups around what we call inspirational leadership, and I think this could be my way in, Marvin. Thanks for the tip there.
Yeah, that's great. So we have time for one last question. And that question is from Mario. How does parenting styles relate to stakeholder management?
Oh my gosh, you're reading my mind there. I think that with stakeholder management, it's very similar. In our case, we have a lot of different stakeholders. We have our partners within Bain. We also have our clients, and we have different levels within the client as well. And one of the things that I found is really kind of consciously, well, first off, slowing down. Slowing down is a big one. You don't have to jump every time someone says jump. You can kind of think about it for a minute. But then I've also noticed, maybe this is one of the really great things about everything being on Zoom, is I'm able to kind of watch people on the screen and kind of say like, well, what are they all feeling right now? I also try to kind of, you know, understand them as whole people. So I'll be the first person. I mean, my son's pretty cute, and so I'll be the first person that's like, I'm going to sign off because I'm going to go play with my son, or my son did this really cute thing. And sometimes the clients will kind of say like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Or, I mentioned like, oh, I'm a little stressed because like, my son's starting preschool. And then one of the clients even was like, I know what you mean. Prepare yourself. You're going to get lots of colds and things. And so being a human and a whole person myself, and showing up with that kind of whole person mentality, of course, with a little professional polish on it, has really been powerful in managing stakeholders as well. At the end of the day, we're all humans. And like I said, we all have these enriching, vibrant lives outside of this Zoom call or that conference room or whatever. And so being able to kind of embrace that, I think is the really powerful thing.
Well, I believe that's it. We've ended our Q&A. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. I am on ADPList, of course, so feel free to get time with me if you're curious. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, and please don't forget to share your feedback on the session. I'll send the link right on the chat, okay? See